Hi, it's me, Leann Schmidt from artkids.com and leannschmidt.com and chartierscreative.com. And today we are going to do a really fun project. This is the Resin River tray. There are a couple of trays that you can do. You can do an ocean inlet with seashells, or you can do cookies and cream. Whichever one you do, you get to eat or keep the other one, do whatever you want. But I'm going to go through some of the things that are in your kit. Let's see, you have, first and foremost, the tray. This is a wood tray. It's cut, it has a really cool little shelf in here, and it is already attached to plastic for you, so you don't have to mess with that. And then you also get an array of seashells. You get like these medium-sized ones, and then you get these really smaller ones so they can fit in here. You get a couple of bigger ones. And then of course you also get some starfish, some sand, sparkly sand, some rocks, pebbles. You get this really spectacular mica, it's really pretty. You get some paints, and gloves, stir sticks, a straw, which is super cute. If you do the Oreo, like the cookies and cream, you can use this, of course. And of course you get cookies. You get hardener, and I have my resin over here warming up. So you want to warm up your resin. You could probably do that now. Well, you probably should have started that a few minutes ago. But anyway, you want to heat up your resin so that it pours more easily. It stirs a little better. And the other thing you're going to want to have handy are a couple of measuring spoons. I use a tablespoon and a teaspoon. So I have those handy. Heat up your resin. I just use a cup of hot water. I don't know if you can see this. I just put it in a cup of hot water for about 10 minutes. It heats it right up. It's very nice. You want to wear your gloves because resin can get really sticky and it can be kind of hard to get off. I personally love baby wipes. Pampers are awesome. Not that I get paid to tell you that, but they really work great. Oh, the other thing that's in here is a little spray thing of alcohol, and you'll use this for bubble release. I'll explain that. So first thing you want to do, put on your apron and gloves, and we can get to work. I'm going to say about a tablespoon of hardener and a tablespoon of resin. You want to really try to get the same amount. And then, so you jump it in, and then you help it out. It's really kind of goopy, so you want to get as much of it out as you can because we're not really working with that much. And after you got out as much as you feel you can, go ahead and clean it out before you put the resin in. You can do this with like a damp paper towel or whatever. Just make sure it's dry. And I go through a ton of baby wipes. I get them by the case now. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the warmed resin. And once this resin has been heated, the bubbles are considerably fewer, so it's really nice. And this is artist resin. It is food safe. So you can even see the bubbles in here now. Okay, so I think that's about right. So same process, dump it in, help it out. Resin is crazy expensive, so I try never to waste it. And you can do some really cool stuff. So if you end up having a little left over, you can make jewelry with it, or you can, I mean, you can almost treat it like, I mean, it's kind of a fun thing to mess around with if you've never done it. Just make sure you don't eat it, drink it, you know, the normal things. And this resin does take a while to cure, but that's good because it gives you some real working time. But you will need to put it in a place where sticky fingers and paws won't get to it. Okay, so make sure you clean it out again. You don't want your measuring stuff screwed up because of this. So clean it out right away. And then the next thing you want to do is set your timer to about 3 minutes and 15 seconds. And you want to start continuously, vigorously scraping the sides for 3 minutes, you know, like for the whole time. Okay, so hang on just a second. I'm going to set my timer. If I can find it. So 3 minutes, 15 seconds on the clock. I'm starting this now. And okay, so finish that. And this is enough in here to make a bit of a bottom layer. So I'm going to do the ocean inlet, and because I'm doing that, I want to add a touch of color, not a lot. I want this to be transparent, so I'm only going to add a small, very small amount, because this is also a very small amount of resin, and it doesn't take much in resin to get a color. You see that? That is all I'm putting in there. I just took it and put it on the side. It's a tiny, tiny bit. And if I need more, then I'll scrape it off of this. But first I'm just going to come up here with the spoon. I mean, I think this might be too little, but I'd rather start too little than have too much and then be screwed. Now, mostly what we're going to do in this step is we're going to seal the edges. We don't want resin coming out, so we want to make sure that we have all the edges nice and sealed. Okay, so I'm going to do a touch more of the blue. See, I'm just adding like it's like not even a whole drop. Especially this, because 3 tablespoons equals 1 ounce. So this is like 2/3 of an ounce of resin, and we're just not going for, you know, we want a nice transparent view because we want to be able to see the seashells in the bottom. And each time I add just a little bit, I mean, it really, you know, it really adds a lot of color. So take your time. Don't be in a rush. Don't think, oh, you know, a drop in, you know, like put in a big chunk. Don't, you know, don't do that. And if you put in too much paint, especially in this little resin, you can actually destroy your resin. So, okay, I hope I have sufficiently scared you enough not to do that. Okay, only because I have done that and it totally sucked. So anyway, so I'm going to take this now, and I'm going to drizzle it along the edges because I have enough to do that. Just a very little bit along the edges here. It doesn't even matter if there's not enough in here to cover the bottom. That is completely irrelevant to our goal right now, which is basically just to create a very solid reservoir. Bring that in. Bring it up there. Bring it along the edge. Now the edge where the plastic is, I mean, no sweat. And then, you know, you can take the rest and just drizzle it through. Like I said before, you don't want to waste any resin. Whatever you have in here, scrape it out and get it into your piece. I love working with resin. It's really fun. Another thing, and I'm so sorry I forgot to mention this, but you should wear a mask whenever you are working with resin. Some people feel differently, but it can cause cancer, so you know, if you don't have a mask on right now, you know, go get one. It's, you know, no point in taking chances. My sister died from cancer. Not from resin, but anyway. So you want to come in and you want to just kind of get along the edges. Make sure you get in all the corners. Like I said, in the middle isn't really that important. This is self-leveling, but it's so low it really won't matter. And I manually cut these, so everybody's piece will be slightly different. Okay, so I have it along the edges. I feel really good about that. I have it in all the corners. Double checking. It doesn't matter if it goes up to here right now. It'll fill in later. We just want to make sure that we have all the important spots covered. And we do. Okay, so now, since we're here and we've gotten this far, I'm going to set this aside and I'm going to take a little bit of the sand. It's really hard to do with these on. I'm just going to take some pinches and put it in here. This will actually also help to strengthen, you know, the center area. It's a little trick I learned when I was doing resin geodes, which are awesome. And it's okay if you get sand, you know, like on these shelves. I mean, that's kind of what they're there for anyway. And you can place a few shells if you want, since this is the very, very bottom. In the end, you really won't be able to see this very much, but it does really help. I'm going to get it in the corners where I want it to set up. Okay. Now I'm going to take a few seashells. And you know, really, if you're looking for seashells in this, for this particular space, you want to go with the bigger ones because, well, the bigger little ones, because you have a height issue. You know, if you go here with this one, it's going to stick up. That's okay if you're okay with that, but if you're not okay with that and you want a smooth, you know, top, you want to take these pieces and put them down a little bit lower. So, you know, look for your bigger pieces that are in here. And you might even want to throw in a starfish. I would set it right on top. I'm not going to push it in, I'm just going to let it sit there. Okay, and then every time you build a layer, you'll have another dimension, and that's part of what makes resin so amazing to work with, is getting all the dimension. So I'm going to let this set up. I'll probably let this sit overnight or a few hours depending on what's going on in the snowstorms and whatever. I will actually, this is deep enough that I'm going to spray this with some alcohol. So I'm going to spray this with a little bit of alcohol. This is just a bubble release. You don't need to spray it a lot. A little bit of alcohol goes a long way here. Just make sure I got it. Okay, that's all it needs here, and then we'll let it set. Okay, and we are back, and the first pour is still a little bit tacky, but I think it's okay to move forward. I just wanted to talk about what we're going to do here in this next step. Is we're going to get our first pour in, and we're going to do about 2 tablespoons of the hardener and 2 tablespoons of the resin. The resin is already been warming up, so this will be warm when I'm ready to use it. And I'd also like to put some stones in, and I'm going to put some mica into this as well, give it a little sparkle. So okay, we're going to get started here. So So now we're all mixed up, and we're going to add the color first and then the mica next. So I'd like to stick with this pretty transparent aqua color. And it does take a bit of both of these colors that I included in your kit. Don't be afraid to use them. And this is what I do. I just put it in here. That's way more than I need. So I'm going to put a glob there, and I mean, it really doesn't matter to me if I mix these, like if a little blue gets in the green, I think of it as like the Reese's peanut butter of color. Okay, so I put it on the side of the glass or the cup or whatever, and I will gradually work it in. And you want to make sure that you blend the color in here thoroughly. Just makes for a nicer color. See, it really doesn't take very much at all. And now we have this really pretty aqua blue color, and now we want to really make it shimmer. So we're going to use some of this mica. This mica is really fine, and it is really sparkly. And I've never been a glitter girl. I know there are lots of people who love glitter. I've never been that person, but in resin, it really makes a huge difference. It really gives the piece a lot of depth. So, and that's what we're going for here. I mean, you know, an ocean inlet. So I'm going to add about, I don't know, this much. I don't know if you can see that. I don't want to go too high because it's really fine. And it will really go everywhere, so try not to sneeze. So I'm just going to gradually stir it in. And it just, you know, like these colors just turn into this like mermaid kind of feel. And it's just so pretty. But I don't want it to clump up, so that's why you want to make sure that you stir it in really well. And now we have the shimmery iridescent aqua blue. And here's what that looks like. Let's see. Transparent. Let me see if I can show you. And we're going to go ahead and pour it in along the edges, right over the initial seashells. This pour is going to take it up a notch. This color is so stunning. And you know, like if you want yours to be a little bit more green, maybe a little more emerald, you can mix in any acrylics. You don't have to use these ones. Although, I mean, I think most people are going to go for something more simplistic, but not simplistic, but I mean, part of these trays is the color that you put in the middle. It's just really makes a difference. Now, if you are doing the cookies and cream, you really don't want an air, you know, like you don't want it to be as transparent. You want it to be a little bit more opaque. You don't want to, you know, like you wouldn't see through milk, so you don't want to see through that. But you can still add, the mica and get in. What I did in the other one is I used coffee to make the crumbles, which I include in your kit. So here's the coffee. You can use this coffee in two ways. You can use it on both kits, or you know, on either tray, to stain it, so I'm not sending you bad chemicals through the mail. You can just take a wet paper towel and literally rub the coffee into the wood, and that will stain the wood if you want it darker, which I think is actually really pretty. So especially against this blue, it's just a really pretty way to do it. Now you could do an ombre too. You could, you know, kind of do the edges and maybe come in a little bit. It's entirely up to you. Okay, so now you can see our pieces are in there from before. I'd like to add some rocks. I think this would be a nice time to do that. Let's see. I kind of want to put a bigger rock in here. The thing is when you put these rocks in, you're going to be able to see these from the side when you're done. So it's a pretty cool thing to do. see, we've just buried some of these seashells now. And it's okay to, you know, put them kind of right on top of each other. I mean, that's, you know, how you're going to see rocks in nature. But, I mean, you can go trippy too. It's up to you. Okay, so I don't really want these sticking out. So I just want to test this. So that might be a little too high. Here. This rock might be a little bigger than what I wanted. Prefer to take it out with tweezers, but yeah, I think that's just too big. I think that's a little better. So I'm just going to set this here and let the resin drip off of it, and then I'll come back and take it out. And I will drop in a few more of the seashells. And I'm going to wait a little bit. I want to do some starfish on the shelf. I think that would just look really cool. But I do want to add some of these seashells. So let's take a look. Now, in the instructions, I tell you to, you know, maybe map it out a little bit before you start. But I like to do it a little bit more organically, so it's up to you how you want to do it. I just don't want you to panic at this point. Okay, so I think this is cool. I like it because I think you'll be able to see the lines under. Smooth, okay. I'm going to put a smaller one right about here. Perfect. These are going to be higher. I may... You can save these and attach them on the outside. It depends. If you want to use this as a tray, then you should put them all on the inside. But if you just want to, you know, like hang it on the wall or put it on, you know, like a tripod or, you know, like a picture tripod kind of thing, then you can put them on the outside too, and that's really pretty. It's kind of big. I don't think I want to put that in there. I really like this. I may actually make this into more of like a piece to set out instead of using it as a tray. Okay. Now you don't have to do this, but I think it just is, it helps it. So I'm gonna let this settle. Now you could later on create a bit of a wave, like on one side you can have like white coastal. I'm not gonna put any sand in this version. I mean in this layer. I do want to put a couple more Seashells in. There she goes. Just throw one right here just so you can see it from the side. Yeah, I'll do a couple of these right there too. Just, you know, doing the seashell thing. Yeah, okay, I like that. Okay, just let it set up. You want to, excuse me, you want to do the bubbles. Now, if you have a creme brulee kind of torch, if you have a smaller torch that came in your kit, you can use that now. Don't do both. If you do the alcohol, don't do the torch. If you do the torch, don't do the alcohol. Okay, so all you're doing is you're helping to release the bubbles. And you see that becomes a lot clearer almost instantly. Okay, so now I'm just going to let this rest up overnight, and then I'll come back in and we'll finish it up. You know, I think this looks really good. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this so far. Okay, alright, this is a wrap for now. I'll see you, for you it'll be like 5 seconds, but for me it'll be like a little while. So, okay, ciao. Okay, we are back and our resin is nice and hard. And so we're going to go to the next step. Now, in this step, we're going to mix a little bit more resin because this is just under this lip. I don't want to fill this whole piece in because I want to add some sand along the edges here. And when you're mixing the colors, I'm going to go just a touch lighter than last time so that you can see everything down below. I don't want it to get lost, at the very end. So I'm going to go ahead and mix it up. Now this time, I have my resin that's been sitting in water, and so I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of hardener and 1 teaspoon, and then I'll do the same for the resin. I'm going to speed this up. Okay, so we're done mixing, and we're going to add in some color. Again, I want to go really light in this layer because we have some really beautiful color in here already, and I don't want to cloud that up at all. So I'm just going to take a smidge from each of these. See, that's way too much. But the colors are right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use another stick, and I'm just going to touch these colors, and that's still too much. That's probably I probably need about 2 of these. Okay. Nope, maybe I only need 1. Yeah, I want to keep this very light. I want to have the color in here. I want it tinted, but I want to make extra sure that I can see all the way through it. Now, I do have a lot of sparkle in here already, so I'm just going to add a little bit in this cup. Okay, so I'm not going to add as much as I did last time. I just want a little bit in here. So maybe a smidge. Can you see that? This has a little bit more in it than the last cup. Okay, I think I'm done. I think I'm done with these colors. I just want to make sure that I get this blended all the way in. You don't want any clumps of glitter. See, you can barely see it, but it will make a difference. Okay, now I have moved everything out of here that I want. I'm going to put some sand along the edges because I just think that'll be really pretty. And I want to build that up, so I just don't want like a deep, deep layer. But if it happens, you know, every one of these is a little different. So you may have more or, you know, even a little bit less resin just depending on the size. So it's okay to go ahead and fill these up. Okay, so okay. Now this time I'm going to come in and I want to get on this ledge, but I don't want to go above it. Now, I mean, the river is really on the center, so it's up to you how, you know, how deep you want to go, or even if you want to use the coffee to stain it. Now this is just perfect, hopefully. And this is self-leveling, so, you know, if it's not exactly, you know, in the corners or crevices, you can push it in there with your stick and then it will level itself out. Like right in here, it looks like it's not in there, so I'll just push that in there. And I'll go along the whole side just to make sure there aren't any little gaps. This side looks really good. Yeah, this looks great. Actually, this is a little deeper than I was hoping for. But I'm not going to waste the resin, so. Now, it does look a little cloudy, and that's okay because right now those are bubbles. But watch what happens when we spray a little bit of the alcohol in it to release the bubbles. Suddenly everything is clear. Okay, and now, see, this is so pretty. Okay, so make sure that is done. I did want to put my starfish in here, but I don't really want it floating on the top. So I may need to come in while this is curing. We'll see how it takes the sand right now. And if you have a little bit of leftover resin, you can put it on the top if you want. You don't have to. You can save it for another project. But I do really, really want the sand along the edge. Okay, this is really where it's super important that you are on the level space. Here we go. Now, it might not seem like much, but the sand can push it over. You know, don't forget, sand is actually used to stop flooding, so it can actually take up a lot of space. So I'm going to be careful not to overdo it, but if you do, just create a little dam. And if it goes over a little bit, that's okay. Now, if you want, I don't, but if you did, you could drizzle a little bit of white in here and blow it with a straw. And that'll give you like that kind of white wave. But it would be more opaque, like not as transparent. If you do that, you would want more of a white, an actual white, and you wouldn't want a lot of it. You would just want a drizzle come through. Do it while it's wet so that you can get some movement out of it. Okay, so I'm just doing the sand along the sides. I know that it will drift out a little bit. That's okay. With the ocean has sand. I love this shelf in here. I think this is just a really cool, really fun kind of feature because it lets you have multiple levels of things. Okay, so and I decided I like this look. I like the seashells on the outside, so I'm going to leave it very similar to this. And I'm going to do another bubble release. Now when the light hits this, it's going to be really, really pretty. Okay, I think that is all for now. I will come back hopefully in a little while, and I'd really like to set a couple of the starfish in here, but I don't want to do it where they're just going to drift away, and I don't trust that they wouldn't. But you know, let's test it. Let's find out what happens. What's going to happen to that little piece right there? There we go. I think I need a smaller one. Okay, so I'm going to get a smaller one here, and I'm just going to lay it in there. going to save the rest of these for the outside, but I don't know, I think it looks kind of cool here. Okay, that's a wrap. See you when it's in a bit. Okay, so I decided to go ahead and add some, ocean, foam kind of waves. I just mixed up a little bit of resin. This was about a teaspoon each of resin and hardener, and I may or may not use it all. But this is where the white is gonna be important, because unlike the translucent aqua colors, we do want this to be a little bit more opaque. So we're going to add a little more, but this is a small amount, so it'll probably look like the same, but because we want that white to show up against the backdrop of the aqua. We don't want it to just look like an enigma. Okay, so I have this red little particle that keeps showing up. Okay. Okay, so this is still pretty transparent. I'm going to add a little more. Paint goes so far in resin. So this isn't completely opaque. You can still see through it. I'm going to put just a little dab here. I just want to see what it looks like. Yeah, still kind of hard to see. This is where it's easy to start going overboard. Don't do it. Resist the urge. I'm not going to put any of the mica in here. I'm just gonna drizzle it. I don't want a lot. I want to give it a little bit of movement. Okay, so Okay, here we are a little while later, and I want to put some starfish on the shelves. So just a little one. See, it's getting thicker, and that was actually what I wanted to go for. Hope it's not too late. Nope, it's kind of swallowing it up slowly. Okay. I'm going to put this one in. Yeah, like right about there. Oh, actually, I like it the other way. Ew. Hopefully that doesn't screw it up. I suggest you probably don't wait as long as I did. I want this to be just under the surface. And that is all there is to it. Looks like I left this one here under the white. Let me see. That's how you get a little bit of that dimension going on in here. And I feel good. This is gonna level out. It keeps opening up the center. I don't know why. There. Okay. And then the rest of the starfish I'm going to put on the top. So that's great. They're floating just below the surface. That was exactly what I wanted. A little bit of depth.